The sickness started when we got the doll. Ellie had always been the picture of health. Energetic, bright, a total chatterbox. That's probably why I noticed the symptoms so early. And it started when we picked up the doll. The next day was garbage day, so a few houses had some trash piled at the curb. An old chair, a used mattress. But one place was getting rid of a few kid items, a little car you sit in and push like a stroller, and a doll. The doll was plastic and about 2 feet tall, and looked similar to one of those vintage Shirley Temple dolls. She had curly blonde hair that took on a sort of grayish, musty color due to age. Her eyelashes were long and she was grinning, showing off little square teeth. She was wearing an elaborate lacy peach-colored dress. Mom. Mom. Are they throwing out that doll? Ellie asked. Yeah, I guess so. I want it. Can we get it? Please. I slowed the car down. I hated taking stuff off the curb like that, because obviously it was being thrown out for a reason. What if it was covered in black mold? What if it was sitting in the back of an attic for decades, with mice and bats and all sorts of nasties? What if it was haunted, like that weird Annabelle doll everyone's always talking about? But that fear was quickly squelched as Ellie started crying. I know. Don't reinforce bad behavior. Don't give into tantrums. That's nice in theory, but when you had a miserable day at work and feel a migraine coming on, you really don't give a fuck about what all those parenting books say. I pulled over, got out of the car, and grabbed the doll. You can't play with it until I wash it, I told her. Okay, she sniffled. That night, after I'd wiped the doll down with some baby wipes, Ellie was on cloud 9. I heard her whispering to the doll as she tucked it in. She'd named it Lilah, to go with her other favorite doll, who she'd named Lily. I love you, Lilah. I can't wait for tomorrow, Lilah. Good night, Lilah. Sweet dreams. When I checked on Ellie after she'd fallen asleep, I found Lilah tucked into the little doll bed she used to put Lily in. The little floral bedspread was tucked neatly under her. Her eyes had been shuttered closed. I paused. I didn't think the doll's eyelids. I shook my head. Smiled at Ellie's angelic little face, lost in dreamland. Then I closed the door and walked back down the hallway. Ellie took that doll everywhere. I thought about all the germs and filth that probably lived in the folds of her lacy little frock. I wish I could throw her in the washing machine. But I could already picture it, Lilah's little face all melted, eyes drooping and jiggly like balls of jello. And Ellie screaming. And screaming. And screaming. I couldn't figure out why she liked Lilah so much. Even Lily, who we'd had for a few years at this point, looked new out of the box compared to this ragged thing. Her hair was tangled in a snarl, her dress was stained and musty smelling, and her eyes were a creepy reddish hue. This is apparently a real thing that happens with old dolls, some sort of chemical reaction that turns their eyes red. It's super creepy, but a thing. But she loved it. She even started bringing Lilah into bed with her instead of Lily. That made my stomach turn. Thinking of her breathing in all the germs and mold all night. I tried to search for the same model of doll online. I even took a photo and uploaded it to AI. All I got were old, red-eyed Shirley Temple dolls. But this wasn't a Shirley Temple doll. Her face was too long, her eyes were too big. And then Ellie started getting sick. It first happened about a week after we got the doll. I woke up with a start in the middle of the night. Ellie was crying. I could hear her wails through the door. What's wrong? It hurts, she wailed. What? What hurts? What happened? My tummy, she said. Oh sweetheart. It's going to be. She interrupted me with a stream of vomit. Oh, geez. I felt her forehead warm. It was that time of year. Sigh. I spent half the night up with her. But that was the problem. The sickness didn't really go away. Even a week later, Ellie was still complaining of nausea every few days. She threw up a few times a week. Maybe she's getting food allergies, my sister told me on the phone. You can get her tested. One night, Ellie woke me up at 2 a.m. I sat up to see her standing in the doorway. Mommy, I threw up, she said weakly. Oh, sweetheart. I hugged her and got her cleaned up. I figured she'd want to sleep in my bed, but she seemed to be feeling well enough to go back to hers. I walked her back to her bedroom. I stopped dead in the doorway. Lilah was sitting up in the middle of the bed. Perfectly posed, not the way a messy 7-year-old would leave her. She was sitting up straight, hands in her lap, her creepy reddish eyes locked on me. And she looked like she was smiling. After Ellie fell asleep, as I was tossing and turning halfway asleep, I realized. None of this started until the doll. I marched back to her room, took the doll, and shoved her into the closet. I bet it's some virus in there, some germ she keeps breathing in, or some mold or something. I felt like a terrible mother. Letting her play with that thing. Letting her sleep with it. Breathing it in all night. When I woke up, Ellie was still asleep. And Lilah was tucked in next to her, red eyes shuttered closed. Damn it. I tried hiding it other places. My closet, the basement, the pantry. But that stupid doll always ended up back in Ellie's bed. She was always good at finding stuff. I finally made the decision to throw it out. In the middle of the night, I bagged up Lilah. Threw her in a trash bag, then double bagged it. I did it in the wee hours before the trash was picked up, so there was no chance Ellie would find it. No chance I'd break after she screamed and get it for her. I heard the rumble of the garbage truck around 6 a.m. I smiled and rolled over, thinking our problems were finally over. They weren't. When I went to Ellie's room, I expected to see Lilah there. Somehow, magically, back in her bed. But she wasn't. Ellie screamed the entire day, predictably, but she actually got over it a little faster than I was expecting. At bedtime there was a little resurgence of crying, but she fell asleep around the same time. Over the next few days, Ellie's attention went back to Lily the doll, and it seemed like she had mostly forgotten about Lilah. But she didn't get better. She continued to tell me she was nauseous. Continued to vomit. Continued to lose weight. She looked pale and weak compared to her usual vibrant self. Getting rid of Lilah hadn't changed anything. Is this some sort of curse? Or some sort of chemical thing with lasting effects? Heavy metals. Mono. We went to doctors, got blood tests. Nothing came back conclusive. I was a mess. Tearing my hair out. And then, a few days later, it happened. I woke with a start in the middle of the night. To screaming. I ran into Ellie's room. The bed was empty. All the blood drained out of my face. But then I saw Ellie. She was crouched in the far corner of her room. Eyes wide. She raised a finger SSSHHH. And then I saw the doll. Not Lilah. Lily. Lily, her braided pigtails falling over her shoulders, her brown frock fluttering over her ankles. Her usual smiling mouth was twisted upside down, her eyebrows were furrowed, and her stubby little arms were extended, groping the air for Ellie. I ran over to Ellie. Grabbed her and ran out of the room. She's jealous, Ellie cried into my shoulder as we barricaded ourselves in my bedroom. Jealous of Lilah. So she made a curse on me. In the morning, Lily was lying motionless on the floor, like a doll would. I grabbed a knife and hacked her to pieces like any sane person would do. Then I put different parts of her in different garbage bags and dumped them at different locations, like I was disposing of a body. I sound crazy. I know I do. But it was all worth it. Because Ellie made a full recovery.